Okay, so I don't have a presentation, so I just came to the building, and somebody from organizers convinced me to be one of the speakers, and so I'm not that much well prepared, but it's a very interesting topic that I'm going to share with you. So we're going to talk today about the IoT, Industrial Internet of Things, and machinery. And my name is Rafayel Ghasabyan, and I have a quite long history of experience working in this field. We have got a company that is around 10 years old working in machinery. So there is some stuff that I can share from that experience, as well as I will be talking some of the history of the IoT. And another kind of part of the agenda is to talk about the software, how the software world is interacting with the hardware world and how it's changing. What are the languages that are being there in the market, and how the programming is going to be a bit different while the Internet of Things is being developed. Okay, so before I start, I would like to ask you, is there anybody in the room who has never heard the word IoT? So that's like strange for him. We don't know what is IoT. Is there such a person? Okay, so IoT is Internet of Things. Հայերեն ասում են առարկաների ինտերնետ կամ չոր մի ձև կարելի է թարգմանել. That's basically all the products which we consider as regular products, like table, like teapot, like toaster, like many different products, or this bottle. So they don't have any electronics and any connectivity. When they become smart, that's basically the IoT, when the internet comes into those products. That's one, somehow you can define like that. That's an easy way to explain. But mostly that's when the connectivity and the smart electronics gets into the product. It can be your glasses, it can be even this the face mask can become like smart face mask and whatever. You can think yourself. Okay, continuing. So that's most of these examples that I just brought up as an IoT products. Those are all consumer products. Now, are there here anybody who has interacted or knows what is industrial IoT? Not just regular IoT, but industrial IoT. Anyone knows what is industrial IoT? Okay, so that's good. That's the topic that I will be talking a bit more and diving into that subject. The industrial IoT is like all the products that I was just giving examples are used by consumers, by people. And like even the toaster, the table, chair, I don't know, like bottle or cloth, like wearables. So all those are used by people. In the case of industrial IoT, the products that are becoming smarter are products that are used mostly in the industrial world, in the factories, in the construction, where mostly the businesses or the companies who create those products that use people are using those industrial equipment. And if you have ever been in any factory, you may have seen many huge equipment like CNCs, like machinery, pressing machines, cutting machines, or molding machines. So different types of machines are which are being operated by people, like literally by hands using those machines, and without having any electronics or even software used into that. So the industrial IoT is revolutionizing or changing this industry by adding into those products electronics and the software, and making them connected to the internet, which makes them even easier. Like, what's the benefit of IoT? Like, let's talk about that part. So why should you want to connect something to the internet? So the major advantage is that when you're connected to some database or to some centralized location, you have an opportunity to collect the data from those devices. In the machinery world, in the industrial world, that kind of data is the data of the load, of the some force, because if you want to cut something, you need to know what should be the speed of the rotation of this spinning knife that will be cutting it. Let's say you're cutting the table. So that kind of all the information is collected into a single location, which helps to improve the safety of the machines, the various the properties or the advantages of how the machine should work. In the world of the consumer, it's again very much related to the data collection. Like for example, to improve the energy efficiency of the washing machine. So if the washing machine is giving some information, what's the energy consumption on different stages, and when you are mostly using the washing machine, what type of liquids you use inside. So that data helps you to forecast and to help you to give the best programs and to wash it better and so on. Okay, I'm sorry for jumping to Armenian, but I want to jump a bit into Armenian because I feel like people are getting a bit more, it's challenging to convey and it may become some boring. Մի քանի բան հայերենով եմ ուզում ասել, այս IoT աշխարհում, այսինքն այդ առարկաները, որ դարձում են ավելի խելացի։ Հաջորդ խնդիրը, որ առաջանում է, դա իրականում ծրագրավորումն է, որովհետև մինչև վերջերս նույնիսկ հենց հիմա էլ այդ բոլոր սարքավորումները ու իրենց ծրագրավորումը համարվում է ոչ ծրագրավորողի աշխատանք։ Այդ տեսակի սարքերը իրանցից, ասենք, ամեն մեկը մտածում է էլեկտրոնշիկա, ինչ որ պետք է ինժեներ լինես, որ դու կարողանաս դրանց վրա ինչ որ մի բան անես, հա։ Մանավանդ այդ սարքային մասում, սարքաշինության ոլորտում։ Բայց ապագան գնում է դեպի այն, որ մեծ կազմակերպությունները, ոնց որ Apple-ն է, ոնց որ Google-ն է, ու ոնց որ նաև այլ ինդուստրիալ աշխարհի մեծ կազմակերպություններ, ասենք oil and gas-ի ոլորտից, հա, իրանք սկսում են այնպիսի ինֆրաստրուկտուրա ձևավորել, որ կարողանան հեշտացնեն այդ բոլոր տեսակի առարկաների եւ այլ սարքերի ծրագրավորումը։ Հիմա մի փոքր պատմությունից եմ բան ուզում կիսվել. If we go back to, I'm shifting again to our English. Sorry for these jumpings. So if we go back to the history, back to 1930, 1940. So those are the years when the first computers were made. And those times, the computers, they were not even called as computers. It was mostly mainframes. So like this size of a room was having the performance much smaller than what you have in your pocket, which is in your phone. So that kind of electronics was controlled and programmed with particular, even not languages. I don't think we can consider that as programming language because it requires a lot of math knowledge. It requires knowledge of the electronics to be able to do the programming. So over the time, then it came computers, PCs, then it came the laptops, then mobile world came into the picture. Somebody thought that, okay, the phone can be not only just a telecommunication device, but it can become like a computer. Then, so what we have at the end, and also, okay, the internet developed, and then we have also cloud computing and all these kind of different things. So now, when you talk to somebody tells, I am a programmer. Yes, ծրագրավորող. So the next question, what are you programming? Are you, like, regular questions? Are you front-end developer? Are you back-end? Are you cloud computing part? What are you doing? Are you doing web programming, or are you doing a mobile programming? So there are this differentiation of mobile development where you have got different operating system, different programming languages, and somehow the programming language that is used for the back-end programming is not exactly the same that is there for the client-side programming. But at the same time, we can see maximum like going into universal approach. So, for example, Google came up with a programming language called Flutter. And there are other cross-platform programming languages where those programming languages are currently being made such a way that it can be used on different targets. For example, with the same programming language, you can do programming on Linux, on macOS, on Windows machine, on a mobile. So why is that is being developed is that it makes it easy to do the programming. So now, the next phase is going to come also for those IoT industry. And that's why currently those big companies are collaborating with the manufacturers of the chips, of the IC, of those small processors that goes into the IoT devices to be able to do the programming with the same kind of programming languages. So what's going to be in the future, I don't think you're going to ask your friend, what are you, like he's telling, I'm programmer, and then you're not going to ask, are you programming shoes? Then he says, yes, I'm programming shoes, or no, I'm doing furniture programming. And then you say, are you programming table or chair? I don't think it's going to be like that. Basically, the technology is being developed in such kind of a speed that most probably we may have some differentiation of industrial IoT and consumer, but still the programming languages and the operating systems are going to be such kind of abstracted from the hardware that the same programmer, the same software engineer will be able to do programming both on the chair as well as on the shoes and on the t-shirt. So basically wearable and then furniture. So that's kind of something, a trend that is happening. So let's stop for a moment. This was like more of a history, what's happening. And let's stop from that topic and let's understand what's happening on the business side. Because most of you, I think like everyone here understands that if you are in the hardware business and you do, like for example, you make a furniture, that's also hardware. Hardware, I don't mean particularly something that has got an electronics inside, but even like anything tangible. You're manufacturing a car. So most probably your profit as a business cannot be as much as it is in the software business, because you have got some cost of goods. You're buying some components, you're assembling those components, and then you're making that, and then you're selling. So you have got some money spent on the components for that product. Ինքնարժեքին ինչ որ մաս ունի։ Ծրագրավորման ոլորտում այդքան էլ տենց չի։ Միայն աշխատավարձ ես տալիս ու վերջ, հա, այսինքն շահույթը շատ ավելի մեծ է։ So in the software side, it's more profit because you just give the salary and then you don't have any cost of goods that you spend. So from the business perspective, seems like, I think that's one of the major reasons why the salaries are high in the software, why people want to build software companies rather than hardware companies. It's not only the hardware is more challenging or whatever, but it's also because there is less money there. The profitability is less. The gross margins are less. So that's other side of the picture. So now if we think in the future, like if everyone goes to the software domain, let's say everyone here wants to build a software company, wants to learn software programming languages because they get paid more, because they do more stuff there, what's going to be in the future? Do you think we are going to sit on the software, eat software, and sleep on the software or drive the software? At the end, we need to have some tangible, like we're living in the buildings, we do, like we eat food, so somebody needs to make that food. And so we have fun in the amusement park, or we do some other stuff. So basically, the hardware, you cannot go away from hardware. Just the hardware is becoming smarter, which makes our life easier and more enjoyable. So what I want to say is that, for me, the software, of course, it has got quite a big market, but while the IoT is going to become part of our life, which is slowly becoming, like jewelry even, the jewelry is becoming smart jewelries like ring, earring, and so on. So those IoT products will be so many that programming the demand for the programming is also going to become huge. And at the end, somebody needs to make that hardware, for which we will need to have industrial IoT. And from the programming perspective, if you don't get into knowing the hardware, how the hardware works, most probably either you will not get a job, because programmers who do only on the mobile programming, those people will be much less than, because like the number of mobile phones is probably, let's say 7 billion, because 7 billion people, each one has got one phone. But the number of all the IoT products is much more. Like how many chairs are here now in this room? And how many chairs is in the AUA, and how many people are in the AUA? Now imagine all those products become programmable. So do we have that many engineers to create those as well as to do the programming for those products? So what I think is good as an engineer, even if you are becoming a software engineer, you need to understand how the hardware works, because the future is that those hardware that surround us today and which are not smart are going to become smart. And for you to be able to do the programming, you need to understand how everything works. Let's finalize on this, and I will be happy to answer to your questions if you have got any. Շնորհակալություն։ Հարցեր կան։ Դե օրինակ ակնոցի վրա պատկերացնում ես։ Ասենք օրինակ ակնոցը լինի smart։ Դե արդեն տենց ակնոցներ կան, դրա համար ակնոցի օրինակ ասացի, օրինակ այդ դեպքում պատկերացու ակնոցի տեսանկյունի մոտ, բացի նրանից որ քեզ լավ տեսողություն ապահովում, նո VR AR-ն մտցնում, augmented reality-ն մտցնում, բայց պատկերացու ես կողքից քեզ հուշումներ անում օրինակ։ Այսինքն այս փոքրիկ դիսպլեյը կամ օրինակ helmet կասկաները, որ մոտոցիկլավարը քշում է, հա, երբ որ smart helmet-ը, smart helmet-ը բացի նրանից որ երաժշտություն, այնտեղ եկա կինո կարող ես նայել ընթացքում, ինքը քեզ հուշումներ է անում։ Ասենք օրինակ դու որ քշում ես, մարդը ունի կողային տեսանելիություն, հա, կոպիտ ասած դու քշում ես այնց, կասկայի մեջ նայելով, ինքը քեզ ցույց է տալիս փողոցը ոնց է թեքվելու, նշանները, այն բաները, որ դու չես կարող տեսնել, որտեղ դու ուշադիր նայում ես քո փողոցին, քեզ հուշումներ է անում։ Ասենք կարող ասել արագությունը, որ գլուխը ցենց չանես նայես այստեղ, արագությունը քո այդ սպիդոմետրը այդ դիսպլեյի վրա ցույց տա։ Այն տարօրինակ օրինակները չասեմ, զուգարանի սմարթ լինելը, որ անալիզը անում ինչ ես կերել, հաջորդ օրը խորհրդատալի ոնց անես, որ նիհարես, եւ այլ, ասենք այդ էլ շատ հայտնի, ասենք որ տենց բաներ կա, toilet կոնկրետ կա, որ գրես smart toilet բերում է, լիքը ստարտափներ կան, որ անում են, ուրիշ էլ տենց սպարման ոլորտի օրինակներ, ասենք նույն տարբեր, ասենք լիքը բան կա, որ ձեզ հիմա թվում է, որ ասենք այդ ոնց կարող է օգտագործվի, բայց ինչ որ մի ժամանակ առաջ նույն հեռախոսը տենց տարօրինակ բան ա եղել, էլ չասեմ, ասենք օրինակ, ես իմ վրա օրինակ բերեմ, իմ ատամի չոտկը հիմա smart ատամի չոտկա։ Ճիշտ է, ինտերնետին չի կպած, բայց էլեկտրոնիկա արդեն մեջը կա, շատ հարմար բան է։ Մի հատ կնոպկա այդպես ծխում ես, մասաժ անում, բան, հա, ասենք նորմալ ատամներից լվանում է։ Ու շատ ավելի լավ է լվանում, այստեղ ասենք սևանում էր ինձ մոտ, հիմա չի սևանում։ Մի ամիս է ինչ օգտագործում, այն ժամանակ ասենք շատ արագ սևանում էր։ Այսինքն $30 առե ավելի էժաններն է կար, բայց դե նավսիկը լիքը գլխիկներ ունի, էլի։ Ինչ որ օրինակներ են բերում, որ ասենք մտելա սովորական կյանք, այն օրը առաջի անգամ դրել եմ charge-ի, որ ատամի չոտկը charge լինի, ասում եմ չմեռանք, ատամի չոտկը զարյատկայի դրեցին կոմպյուտերից, էլի, USB-ով ինչ որ բան է։ Այսինքն այդ ամեն ինչը շատ դանդաղ, բայց կարծում եմ որ մեր երեխեքի ժամանակ արդեն մենք ենք զարմանալու, մեր ժամանակ մահճակալը sense բաներ չուներ, հա, ասենք պարկածես քեզ մասաժ անում, կողքից ինչ որ ինֆորմացիաներ է տալիս, հա, չգիտեմ, գիտի որ վաղը չեմ մյուս օրը, հա, ասենք վաղը չեմ մյուս օրը trip ես գնալու կամ այսինչ օրը գնացել ես, այսինչ տեղդ գցավա, այդ մասն է մասաժ անում, չգիտեմ, կամ գիրքակարդ։ Ինչ որ ուրիշ հարցեր կան։
Հարց կա, I can ask in English, so if you want to. What are the current challenges in connecting smart IoT devices, right? What in terms of 5G, 4G, what are the challenges and ways to connect?
Okay. Okay, just before I answer to your question, to give a short intro about Vahan. Vahan is, his company is in the field of IoT, and they are making smart refrigerators. Basically, regular refrigerator becomes a vending machine. Okay, now back to your question. So the market, actually, connectivity is one of the biggest challenges for the IoT market to expand fast. Because imagine a moment where all these devices are now smart and connected to internet. Then the internet will die, even the nowadays internet. The 5G is actually the future, that's the major push why the 5G was created. And the first device, the first IoT device that brings the need of the 5G is the car. The automotive is one of the drivers. The number of the cars that is currently becoming smarter, and they are not only just like this chair is not going to fly or drive or with 200 kilometers per hour speed, but the car is not only that are many, but also they move. So to be able to be communicating with that device with the speed that it is moving and changing its location from one antenna to another, I don't know if you know how all this cellular network works, but there are many antennas, there are base stations, how you are being able to connect to those and being able to communicate. So the amount of data is being increased, and the connectivity is one of the biggest challenges. Another challenge to mention, not only the connectivity, is basically miniaturization. Okay, so we want to have everything in a very small size. So for example, there was an Armenian startup called Yekap, if you have heard. It's a smart cup which has got imagine like this size, but they use some part around this size is the electronics under. So it has got a temperature. You can connect with your phone. You can put let's say you put it's like a thermos, I don't know, thermos, how to say. like something that you can keep coffee, tea, and you can define what's the temperature that you want it to be, and it was heating as well as cooling the whatever the substance that is inside. So it's a smart cup, and you always have your tea with exact temperature that you love. So, and this cup costs like $100. Will you pay or no? I don't know. But like, you need to fit all that heater, cooler, electronics within the cup. So the miniaturization overall, making everything small, is another kind of a challenge for the IoT devices. Of course, if that's not the case with the table or chair, but for example, this shirt. If I want to have a shirt which is the same thin, the same textile, the same thickness, and the same textile, but imagine in the winter, it's giving me heat. In the summer, it's cooling me. Now, it has got some electronics on it. And there are very famous brands which are manufacturing not this shirt, but like jacket for hikers that cost a bit higher, but it has got both heating as well as cooling system. And you can connect with your phone, you can communicate with your wearables and so on. So it's coming slowly, and I think next 10 to 20 years, we will see much more devices on us and with us, which are more smarter. Yes?
Somewhat a generic question. I see you are very familiar with this sphere in Armenia, and what are specific challenges that exist for IoT in Armenia particularly? I don't mean global, like you said, I mean just for Armenia, like supply, the feedback loop, like you cannot get the parts, electronics cheaper from China, etc. So all these issues that are specific to Armenia, maybe lack of developers who understand, for example, ESP, GFC, or what are challenges in Armenia that exist now?
Very important question, and it's very touching to me personally. So let me start from the second part, the need of the developers and people who understand this world. Of course, there are much less engineers in the hardware domain rather than in the software domain. And for example, now we're looking for software engineers, but even that is difficult to find, because when you're doing programming in a small resource like a controller that don't have like much of processing resources and CPU and so on, we do programming with the language called Go. And we're looking for engineers, for backend engineers with the Golang. If you know anyone, if you're interested, please apply, please let me know. And so that's also even a challenge. It's just software engineering, but in Armenia,
do you just go for the embedding development?
Not for the exactly driver part, but for the algorithmic part, we use Go on the Linux. It's a Linux operating system, not exactly the embedded development. Okay, back to the other part of the question. I don't think, I think like Armenia is the best place, is the great place to do the IoT development. There are no major challenges, because I don't consider when you're making an IoT device and some product, you need to do production in your country, in the same country. I mean, for the production, for the prototyping, it's fine. You can get something from China, from US, even you can do prototyping in Armenia. Having around $500,000 is enough to equip a small prototyping lab, which will have everything you need. Just $500,000, which is, I don't think it's a lot for the hardware startup. So as for the production, it's like every company. Do you think the phone that you have was manufactured in the country where it was designed? So, I mean, as a design house, Armenia is a great place. For production, I don't think, but at the same time, I don't think we need it. We need that. The customs is challenging. It's difficult to import, export. For prototyping, it should be enough. It should be fine. Just to give a couple words what we do, we started a company called Tactune. This company is manufacturing controllers. It's Tactune, Tactune.com. This company is we're actually automating and making electronics and software for a very niche market called material testing. So materials testing equipment manufacturers who test like plastic, rubber, concrete, metals, they apply some force, they elongate or compress, and they do measurements. So this machinery, which does all these things, the machine builders are my customers. So we make for them the electronics and the special software, which is software like which is actually cloud-based and so on. Like it makes those machines smarter. It's exactly industrial IoT, so we make those machinery to become smart machines. It's not a big market, but we do that in Armenia, from Armenia, for the companies in the United States, in the UK, in Italy, and it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, exactly prototyping phase of the hardware development, and basically you need to do, you need to iterate over your hardware.
It is a bit longer than if you are in the US. If you are in the US, you may get your prototype in a week, doing somewhere, but you pay more. If you are in Armenia, you will get in 2 weeks. But it's not a bottleneck to say, I don't want to do hardware because it's like, there is no way. There is a way, and it's slower, it's harder, but it's possible. So, thank you everyone.